Inspired by poetry.
Let's give it some lip.
Da-da.
Well, welcome back, everyone. I'm Ginna Brock, and I'm with TB Harriott here, and we are going to talk about poetry that celebrates womanhood. And who better to start with than Maya Angelou? How are you feeling about the topic?
Oh my God, I haven't been this excited in a long time, I have to tell you. The thing I care the most about, and to see it represented in different forms.
Yes. Yeah, so we have 3 different forms we're going to look at today. And that might be a bit ambitious, but I think we can do this. So let's dive right in.
Okay.
And I'm going to go ahead and read Phenomenal Woman by Maya Angelou. Pretty women wonder where my secret lies. I'm not cute or built to suit a fashion model size, but when I start to tell them, they think I'm telling lies. I say, it's in the reach of my arms, the span of my hips, the stride of my step, the curl of my lips. I'm a woman, phenomenally phenomenal woman. That's me. I walk into a room just as cool as you please, and to a man the fellows stand or fall down on their knees. Then they swarm around me, a hive of honeybees. I say, it's the fire in my eyes and the flash of my teeth, the swing of my waist and the joy in my feet. I am woman, phenomenally. Phenomenal woman, that's me. Men themselves have wondered what they see in me. They try so much, but they cannot touch the inner mystery. When I try to show them, they say they still can't see. I say, it's in the arch of my back, the sun of my smile, the ride of my breasts, the grace of my style. I'm a woman, phenomenally phenomenal woman, that's me. Now you understand just why my head's not bowed. I don't shout or jump about or have to talk real loud. When you see me passing, it ought to make you proud. I say, it's in the click of my heels, the bend of my hair, the palm of my hand, the need for my care. 'Cause I'm a woman, phenomenally phenomenal woman. That's me.
Oh my golly. That's all I can say. That's all I can say. So where do you start with something like this? When I think of confidence, like this just exudes confidence.
Doesn't
it's
it?
like, and self-acceptance, it's like, it's not about the others, but it's about me.
That's right.
Right.
That's right. Yeah, and not about also any kind of altering of myself for others.
No.
It's just, this is celebrating the uniqueness of me.
Correct.
And what I have to offer.
And
I love that, because in a society that is so much about mimicry
the others.
and mimicking
Yeah.
other, to find those elements, like you say, that bring your confidence out, that define you, and to celebrate those,
Exactly.
and not to think of them as something that others you,
Yeah.
but something that ultimately defines you.
Yeah.
How beautiful.
I think this should be given to every young woman, before they're informed by anything else, to be able to celebrate who they are, and to self-acceptance. Like for me,
Yes.
this is like the epitome of self-acceptance. It's like every part of me is me.
Yeah.
And you might wonder why, but I know, right?
Exactly. It's
I
like,
know.
and it does say that. It doesn't have that mystery in there. Yeah, that my inner mystery.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a part of us that nobody will ever be able to comprehend
Yeah.
or touch or see or and it makes us who we are.
Yeah. And one of the, as I think about this and thinking of the time she wrote this, and it was really exploring the unconventional beauty, and especially among African American women.
Yes.
And she just cut to the chase, right?
Yeah.
They might wonder, but I know. And it's not about necessarily saying to others, you're on the wrong track,
Right.
because I'm the person who needs to determine what that is.
Yeah.
I don't have to be defined by others, because I know the arch of my back,
Yep.
the click in my heels, right?
The sway of
The
my hips.
sway of my hips. Don't fight it. It's
That's right.
there.
That's
Go
right.
with emotion, So I think this is the essence for me of what it is to be truly empowered and to accept oneself, and to get rid of the noise. Everything else is just noise.
And that questions aren't always criticism.
No.
And questions are a chance for you to claim
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah.
So like, why do you do it like that?
Yeah.
Don't think of it as a criticism.
No.
Claim it and say, because of this.
Own it.
That's right. Own it. And I love the refrain, I'm a woman, phenomenally phenomenal woman. That's me.
Reinforces it, doesn't it?
That's right. Yeah. That phenomenally and phenomenal.
Yeah.
Just
reinforces it.
It's so great. That emphasis is just reminding us that there's a celebration to be had. And it really does fly in the face of the contemporary narrative around beauty.
Yeah. It does. And I was once asked where I got my confidence from, and I actually gave credit to my dad. But now thinking back, I probably should have said Maya, because certainly I was inspired by this in terms of my own identity. Who are you? Who owns that? Who gets to curate that? Is it public opinion or is it of oneself? And she just had this way, She just had this way, and she did it her entire life.
She did, and it's not, through condemnation.
No.
She's not, and it's not even through like a didacticism, like let me teach you the ways. No. It's just, here it is.
Yeah.
Let me model it for you.
I know,
and let me model what that looks like so that you can know too.
And I think that's the beauty of, the whole discourse in poetry and what she's done really cleverly. It's like, I can use this as a moment to tell you what I think you should be doing, but instead, I'm going to focus on me.
That's right. And you can take from that.
You can take from that
what you will.
I'm going to show you. You take from that what you will.
Yeah. Oh, so good. And the structure of it as well, where each of the stanzas begin with kind of this outside, and then we go into the inside, and then we end with that refrain. It's that, as you said, that reinforcement. Just keeps coming back to it's you.
Yeah.
That's me. The last lines are always, that's me.
Yeah. And you're free to question it, right? I know, but you will always have that ability to question it, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I don't need to go down that hole where I go after what you might be thinking of me. It's what I know of myself.
Yeah.
And there is a beauty, and it's reinforced throughout.
Yeah.
And it's not the most obvious things. If you look at the references, it's all about these tiny little nuanced details about ourselves, right? Just tiny nuanced details about ourselves.
And also, it's the people who are questioning, like pretty women wonder.
Yeah.
So the first ones are they're the ones questioning, and then later it's men themselves have wondered. So it's like it doesn't matter what side is questioning you. You don't change.
Yeah, and they're all curious, right?
they're all curious. Because obviously you have something that they find attractive.
They're all curious.
Yeah.
They're all curious, and that's brilliance, right? They're all curious. Yeah. And I can approach this one of two ways. I can talk about it from the position of, I'm going to tell you what's wrong, or I can say, I know. And that's the most important thing, and I've defined it. Phenomenally.
Yes, this is a phenomenal poem.
I am loving it. Absolutely.
Well, and I know that this one served as a springboard, really, for the next poem we're going to look at, which is actually one by T.B. Harriott.
Thank you.
So I'm going to let you read your own poem, because poets usually read them with the essence that they had in mind.
And here I have to say, to preface things, is that I wanted to intellectualize some of the things that Maya was doing in Phenomenal Woman, and I'm so inspired by her that I think every piece of work that I've ever written has some alignment or inspiration drawn from something I've read by her. And it made me think about myself as a woman. So here goes. I am woman. Beyond the cynicism of what I dare not dream to be, beyond the cages of what I am told I must become, I am woman. In me lives a power to give birth to a world where my desire to nurture brings life, invigorate the minds of the collective, for I am testament to wisdom handed down through generations, and the woman in me awaits a new dawn. Beyond the history that tears my soul apart, beyond the passages of life's narrow path, I am woman, I've naissance the mountains around me, sacrificed it to the heavens and pledged my soul. I cry out to the wisdom of old, for the woman in me mourns no more. Beyond the tales of war and pain, beyond the fortunes and the fame, I am woman. I release mankind. I emancipate the prisoner in my mind. I am destined to be woman, strong and free.
Oh, TV, that is fabulous. Let me tell you. Man, there's so many lines in there that just resonate with me. And I'm just going to say one that like popped out as you were reading it that I didn't get when I read it on my own, but when the way you read it, the I release mankind, I emancipate the prisoner in my mind, that actually gives me T.S. Eliot vibes as well.
True.
Because he has one called The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock. And man, in there are those moments that just kind of hit it straight on the head of the nail. And you're like, and I think that one just does that for me. That with that nice short, I release mankind, and then the longer, I emancipate the prisoner in my mind. And you're just like,
and those things have to happen together, right? Those things have to happen together. And I think that when I think about women's empowerment, those things, for me, those are the critical lines.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because from that, then we can achieve something else. We can go on to something else.
Yeah.
You know, it's not one-sided. And what I was actually trying to do was reflect on how clever Maya did that in Phenomenal Woman.
Yeah.
You know, it's that there's a sense of personal responsibility, and we've got to own it.
Yeah. Yeah, and then the other two lines there's a symmetry in this as well. I was just looking at the structure of it as you were reading with the two alliterative lines with beyond, beyond, and then I am woman. You do that 3 times throughout the poem. And then there's also always a line in there where it is, and the woman in me awaits a new dawn. And then later it's, for the woman in me mourns no more. And then it's woman strong and free. Yeah, what a great progression.
My transformation.
It is. Look at that.
It was my transformation, and that was done deliberately.
Yeah.
I started a place, but I needed to end it up somewhere else. So unlike Maya, I was not that mature. I had to grow, and I grew in the lines, right?
That's what we do. We grow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like this opening, beyond the cynicism of what I dare not dream to be, beyond the cages of what I am told I must become. That is so lovely with that contrast, paradoxical formation there of these things, that the constraints as well as our dreams of something beyond those bars.
Yeah. And I often reflect on those lines when every year around International Women's Day, I reflect on those lines about, what do we do to inspire women themselves, and how do we unlock those things? What do we do? How do we give them the freedom to take ownership, right? Because there has to be hope.
There does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we can get into this dystopia of, this world that no one wants to live in, or we can bring it back to a place that, there's hope in it. And that's what I hope in my own transformation through the journey of the poem.
And that's what poetry does.
Yeah.
Poetry gives us hope.
Yeah.
I mean, reading the poems that were going on during World War II.
Yeah.
I mean, even in those real dark, destructive, cruel, inhumane moments, there were these poems coming through about there has to be a dawn beyond this.
Yeah.
There has to be something, So I believe that poetry, like I think we said this before, it's a mouth.
It is.
And it gives us this opportunity to speak into whatever situation we are in and project out.
Yeah.
Which is beautiful.
And
gives hope.
Yeah. And it's also an ear because we listen. And I think that as I reflect on this, it's how through listening I'm able to go through this transformation of going, I'm a woman strong and free, and I'm going to own that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah.
I think it was Auden who said poetry is a mouth.
Yeah.
I got to give him credit.
Yeah.
Yes, in the elegy to W.B. Yeats.
Yeah.
Yes, that's where it is.
We always have to give poetry to
the
originators of these thoughts.
Because we're going to be talking also about AI and its ability to create poetry. So, we have a poem that we asked ChatGPT to generate, and I believe it was give me 2 stanzas of poetic verse about women empowerment. Yes. And this is what it came up with. She stands strong with fire in her eyes, no longer silenced, no longer disguised. Her voice echoes with power and might, demanding equality and a fairer fight. She is a force with strength untold, breaking barriers, making the world bold. Her power lies in her spirit, her soul, empowering women to take control. So it spit that out in like
2 seconds.
2 seconds.
So before we go on and talk about what it doesn't do, I'm going to tell you that that's an impossibility for me. Right?
That's right. I can't write a poem in 2 seconds.
I can't do it. I have a line in my head that's been going on for months, and I can't seem to figure it out. So kudos to the ability to do that.
True.
Yeah, kudos to the ability to do that. And I think that my only question is, what inspired it, right?
Exactly.
Because as poets, when we write, we're inspired by something.
That's right.
So what inspired it?
And as a language bot,
Yeah.
the only thing is the prompt.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Where can I get it from?
That's right. And then it goes searching, and it
Yeah.
goes searching for the most likely, most used ideas, and it puts it together in different ways. Yeah. And sometimes those are actual lines from other poets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's the part that I think that causes us to pause more than anything else, right? Is like it may be more borrowed than we would like it to be. And that's the question. And for me, it isn't that it doesn't make a contribution, but at what expense?
Exactly.
At what expense?
And I guess in my mind, it's all borrowed because it's only picking up
Correct.
on language that we've already inputted into it. So obviously, it's not. And I actually had an argument with ChatGPT because it spit me out a poem. I said, write me a poem about the smell of rain.
Yeah.
And then I said, well, what devices did you use? And it couldn't tell me.
Yeah.
And I said, so really, you're just pulling words. You're not really innovating. And it says, no, I can do both. I'm like, can you?
It's not deliberative, is it? It's just, let's just do it.
Let's just do it. Yeah.
Construct a house based on wood or straw.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So you look at this one and, she stands strong. We start with an alliteration, so it has that poetic technique there. But if you look at all of the rhyme, you see it's quite... What's a good word for it? I was about to say basic, but
but I was going to say kind of forced rhyme in
there
some
you
ways.
Go. Yeah.
Some forced rhyme in some way.
That's right.
It's the most obvious thing that it came up with. And not because it's obvious in the way that humans engage with it, but it's obvious in that's what the data.
That's right.
That's what it was.
That's what it pulled from.
That's what it pulled.
But when you look behind it as well, so like looking at Maya Angelou's Phenomenal Woman, looking at your piece, I Am Woman, and the language choices that you created, the way that you put language together is beyond the typical. And that is what a ChatGPT can't do. It can only give us the traditional, the typical, the most common.
Yeah.
And so that's what we get. We get a poem that says something about phenomenal women, well, about womanhood, but there's an emptiness to it because the language doesn't point to something beyond itself.
Yeah.
Do you feel that?
No, I do feel that. And the thing that I'm going to liken it to is that as artists, and especially as poets, we're born into a body of which we experience the world. So when we write from that perspective. This is a generic perspective, right? Yeah. It's very much about, generically, these may or may not be the right things to put together.
And pretty cliche.
Yeah. But I think if you look at both my attempt to do that and Maya's doing that, it came from a position of a voice of a woman dealing with something beyond just what is the right thing to do. So if I can put it, it's sort of like this, it sets a foundation for what could be poetry, but it doesn't elevate it to the level of which people can experience it in a different way, and one that can bring about change and transformation, right? It's too obvious.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. It lacks soul.
Yeah, it does.
Which is interesting because it brings soul in. I think
Yeah.
it mentions soul at
As a
one
word.
point. As a word. I'm like, oh, really? Yeah, her spirit, her soul.
Yeah, as a word, but I didn't connect or feel, and I'm not saying because it's AI, I'm saying that it genuinely lacks that, but it's never going to be capable of doing that.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the experiences to feed from. It takes the words that we might use, but the hollowness of the experiences, it's obvious when you read it.
Does it have failure? Does it have heartbreak?
No.
Does it have feelings of being betrayed? Right?
Yeah.
That's what we draw from. Feelings of being misunderstood.
Yeah.
Like that is our data.
Yeah.
That serves as our poetic impetus.
And you know, as poets, our vulnerabilities are always on the table.
Always
with
on display.
Each piece we write. There is no vulnerability
That's
here.
right. Piece of our heart.
Yeah. So I don't think anyone should be threatened by
ChatGPT.
ChatGPT. That's all I'm going to say.
It can do it.
Yeah, it can do it.
But
And
does
fast,
it
quick.
at
faster.
quick, yes, but it does it at a very
And
basic
faster.
level, and
At
it
basic
doesn't
level.
have that. It doesn't have the nuance of, well, obviously human experience.
No.
All it can do is take our language that we've used already
Yeah.
and find ways to put it together in the right stanza,
Yeah.
rhyme,
Form is
and
great.
form. Exactly.
Form is great.
That's
Follows
right.
all the rules. And it's
That's
good
right.
at rules, but it's not good at understanding how to move those boundaries, right? Because I think as you play with literary devices as a poet, you always think about how far can I extend that
That's right.
and still remain within the boundaries.
Exactly.
But just move the boundaries out a little.
A lot of times I think of my poetry, I'm bringing somebody along with me
Yeah.
into an experience that really there's no language for,
Yeah.
except if I can find ways to manipulate my word combinations in order to give it the essence that it deserves.
Yeah.
But this can only give us the common language.
obvious.
The obvious. The
Yeah.
obvious.
The
Yeah,
obvious.
that's the way.
I think it's almost like a policy. It's like these are the things you have to say. But beyond that are people.
That's right.
And
I
their
don't.
lives.
I don't sense a
Yeah,
person.
yeah.
I don't sense a person
Yeah.
underneath that.
No,
Whereas
no.
I sense your speaker's voice
Yeah.
underneath. There's a being
Yeah.
there. Same with Phenomenal Woman.
Yeah.
But here it's nice, but but like you say, surfacey,
Yeah, very
vague,
surface.
and cliche.
But that's why it takes us so long to write it, because it's not simple.
It's not simple.
It's not simple. You'll sit and you'll think about it and you'll think about it.
Oh,
and,
I wrestle.
and yeah, and you have to open yourself up, right? I think of every time I write, I'm opening my soul to others.
How far do I want to reveal?
yeah, it's like that curtain, do I take a peek or how far out I
That's
go?
right.
And how much beauty is in doing that, but also that shared vulnerability. And the reason for doing it is so that others who may have the same thought process or have experienced the world in a similar way or may have to be thinking about it, they get permission to open themselves up. Whereas this is just, let me just give you something. It's 2 stanzas, it's 4 lines, it'll have a rhyme, right?
That's right. That's right.
And I could count the numbers of words, probably the same. It's
probably
it probably
Yeah.
is with just form. So I think that it takes a form that is acceptable, but without the generosity of soul.
And it has some moments where you're like, well, what do you mean behind that?
Yeah.
Like, no longer silence, no longer disguised.
But where's a reference to it before? Where did we go?
Where were we
go?
disguised?
Yeah, exactly.
And in what disguised in
yeah,
what way?
Yeah.
Like that could be very poignant
Yeah.
in this idea of like persona and what you
Yeah.
project. I'm disguising myself as far as how much I show to society.
Yeah.
But here it's said and gone, and we're just supposed to go, oh, that's because it rhymes with eyes.
Yeah. And there's almost a disconnect between the stanzas, right? We're demanding the fair, but I'm a force, and it talks about all these things, but I don't feel like there's a connection between those things.
Yes. The logic behind it all.
It's logical.
Yeah. Yes.
I think I understand equality a little bit better.
Yeah.
But maybe it's not the campaign that I thought it would be, nor am I going to be ambassador for it.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, looking at it a little bit closer, I think like each of those ideas have merit.
They do.
But they just, like we said, they needed a deeper exploration of what those mean and the impact of those, especially if this is women empowerment, on women lives and how we project into this world. But just to say those and just to take it as accepted or as understood, that's what worries me about this, is that it's just taking it as it is.
That's a given.
It's a given,
It's fait accompli. And I think, like, if I were to give advice to ChatGPT, not that it's asking me, each sentence of itself holds merit in delving deeper, right? So she stands strong with fire in her eyes. Come back and reference that to me. Where is that fire coming from? Right?
Yeah.
What
Where does that
gives
generate?
her the fire? How do we generate that? How does she control that? And I think that's where it loses it, because it becomes independent lines and they're forced together because they have a rhyme, right? So it fails to really capture anyone. It just becomes that policy brief.
Exactly.
This is what women's empowerment should feel like. But, quite frankly, no threat.
You go back and you look at your poem and you look at Maya Angelou, and there's no way that this one is going to have that irony that you bring in at the beginning, the invigorate the minds of the collective, for I am testament to wisdom handed down. How can it even understand legacy, right? And the phenomenal woman, like, you look at this and it's like, she says, it's the fire in my eyes. So that's very similar, right? The flash of my teeth, the swing of my waist, the joy in my feet, because I am woman. But she grounds it in something. And the corporeal aspect of self as well. Nothing corporeal in this one. All just
it's
idea.
all the perfect things. It's like a politician's speech, right? You just say it. But you have to engage. But it's like a politician's speech. You just say it.
That's a great analogy.
You just absolutely say it. And it yes, may sound good, but it's empty.
The substance underneath is
missing. It's empty. It's really empty.
Agreed.
And for me, if I look at the piece that I wrote, I am woman not because of me, but because of all the other women before me. And I'm paying tribute to them. The same way that Maya's paying tribute to her body. Right? Because we know it's more than just us. Comes from another place, and in that we're celebrating those things at the same time.
That's right.
Whereas it's not the obvious. This is not a campaign promise. It's not politics. You're not going to get elected on this, but you want people to feel it. You want them to feel it deep in their souls and to be guided by it,
and to look in their own like, who are they standing on the shoulders of?
Exactly.
Because we look back, we can see all these amazing women in our lives who have given us this strength, who has given us encouragement, given us confidence to be the women that we are today.
And they provide us the armor to do something else, right? The protection to do something else. I'm a feminist. I acknowledge that. I celebrate that. And each time I write from the perspective of feminism, not being about just what's in it for me, but the greater good. And so each time it addresses something way beyond me, but what I hope I can share with others about what I've learned from others.
I always want my poetry to open people up to a new sense of freedom. Freedom of ideas and beliefs and ability. And just to take a chance. Because a lot of times we're our own worst critics.
We are.
And we just tell ourselves, oh, I can't do that. And so you won't. Got to change the narrative.
Absolutely.
Tell yourself, I can.
Absolutely. And the more of this that's produced, the more hope we give to people.
That's right.
We have a responsibility.
We do. Oh, this was wonderful. It was fun to go through, Maya's poem, your poem especially, and then also looking at what ChatGPT can and cannot produce. I hope that you found this enjoyable. I always love chatting with you.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And I, you write for these moments. I think when you write for these moments where you can share a bit of yourself, a bit of your soul, but share the work that you've done as that body of work that ChatGPT can now call on for some of its references,
Yes.
but never quite copy.
That's right. That's
Never
exactly
quite
right.
copy. Yeah.
Oh, excellent. Well, thank you, everybody, for listening. And we'll be back with another podcast soon.
Okay.
All
Thanks,
right.
Ginna.
All right.
Okay.
See ya.
Bye-bye.